of Tamasek. He was resting during a hunt when he saw a white mouse deer cornered by his hunting dogs. Surprisingly enough, the mouse deer managed to fight off the dogs. Amazed by the bravery of the small animal, Paramaswara decided that this was where he would settle down. And when he was told that the tree he was resting under was the Melaka tree, he declared this new land to be named Melaka.
Kalau begitu elok benarlah kita berikan nama tempat ini sebagai Melaka. Apa kata Datuk?
Admiral Cheng Ho, or Zhang Ha, the great Chinese sailor, visited Melaka as many as 7 times. His vessel, which measured 8 times the size of a Portuguese galleon, is legendary. He led the greatest sea expeditions in sailing history with 62 ships and 28,000 men, some of whom stayed in Melaka, married locals, generating today's Malaccan Babylonia culture and a handful of the Portuguese descendants. The term Malaccan Portuguese was not merely for reasons of expediency, as it's quite common nowadays to hear such references as Malaysian Chinese or Malaysian Indians, but more to illustrate the absence of an acceptable terminology used to identify the descendants of the Portuguese in Malaysia. About 20,000 Portuguese citizens are estimated living throughout Malaysia, but only 3,000 remain in Melaka, making them the smallest community in this multicultural country. The offsprings of Portuguese and locals produced a new generation of mixed parentage, with various shades of pigmentation, but of fair complexion, common to that of Euro-Asian marriages. Whilst the Portuguese dictionary refers to all Portuguese of mixed parentage as mestizos, the general term used to describe them is Iberian Portuguese.
We are known as Portuguese descents, or better known term is mestizos, which are made up of half Portuguese and half local inhabitants. The Portuguese had a policy of assimilating with the wherever they went around the world. Even here in Malacca, they assimilated with the local inhabitants. So we are known as mestizos, or half-breeds, half Portuguese, half locals. Unlike the other colonial powers, the Portuguese actually practice a policy where they encourage their Portuguese soldiers or people from Portugal coming to Malacca to marry the local inhabitants. They even had this group of orphans coming from Portugal known as the Orphans of the Queens. They were brought in specifically from Portugal to marry with the locals, so to assimilate with the local culture.
The inconsistency of a common reference applicable to the Portuguese descendants had led to the emergence of the misnomer Cristão, meaning Baptist Christian. This erroneous definition consequently enveloped other areas of definition.
There's currently a debate going on between certain quarters as to the proper term used to describe the Portuguese language spoken by the Malaysian Portuguese. There seems to be a misinterpretation by saying that the Portuguese here speak Cristão, whereas that is not entirely an accurate description, because Cristão is used to describe our religion, as in Christian, whereas we speak a form of Portuguese which first arrived 500 years ago. So to say it's Creole Portuguese, is Cristão, is not really accurate, but the debate still is going on.
The establishment of the Strait Settlement and the development of the Malay states had siphoned off the affluent and the literate from the population. Dispersed throughout Malaysia, the Portuguese community here in Malacca was left in small numbers. Furthermore, Malacca's declining economy continued to compel more to leave and seek their fortunes elsewhere. By the mid-1920s, the realization of a lost heritage began to concern the minds of a few community leaders. The idea for the establishment of the Portuguese settlement was mooted as early as 1692. This noble idea was initiated by the relentless efforts of two Catholic priests, Reverend Father Alvaro Manuel Carrado and Reverend Father Jules Pierre Francois. 8 years later, the Portuguese settlement was established. The Portuguese settlement covers approximately 28 acres and is located about 2 kilometers south of historic Malacca city center, along the coast of Ujung Pasay. The village comprises 118 homes with about 1,200 residents. It is the only such village in Malaysia and was declared a heritage village by the state government of Malacca in 2002 under the state's Preservation and Conservation Enactment. The Portuguese settlement has and will continue to live on. This community demonstrates a group of people whose ancestors were once here many hundreds of years ago. The leader of the Portuguese settlement is called the Regador. Since 1998, Peter Gomez, an ex-medical lab technologist of University Kebangsaan Malaysia UKM, has been chosen as Regador. The Regador is chosen by a democratic vote of the residents. The Regador would only be replaced upon his death, or if he so wished to tender his resignation. The first Regador was Felix Danker, and his management system continues until this day.
Let us go back to the point. Now we are here to discuss how to bring in the money, to organize the function, and also what will be our expenditure. Now, can you all suggest me ways of bringing income? Number one.
The Regador is also assisted by committee members consisting of individuals of various ages, origins, and professions. The Regador and his committee exist as a social institution. Besides managing the infrastructure and social development affairs of the settlement, the team also meticulously plans activities that sow the balance of harmony within the Portuguese community. It has been the Regador and his committee's responsibility for the last 500 years to protect and simultaneously preserve their cultural heritage, their language, and their lifestyle.
Vamos.
After almost 30 years of life outside Malacca, Peter Gomez finally returned to his hometown to settle down for good. Peter is among the 150 part-time fishermen who go to sea only when required. Peter's brother-in-law, Augustine de Mello, is among the faithful 40 coastal fishermen who go to sea daily for netting and fishing. While it may no longer be as lucrative as before, fishing has remained for a large section of the community as it provides a stable income.
These are actually people who are already past their prime. And of course, they cannot get any more job in the government service. So the only job that they can carry on doing is fishing. And actually, it is a supplementary income for them. Now we have also those who have worked in the government service, but they do go fishing to keep some food on the table. It's fresh food which they catch themselves, and the extras they can earn a little bit of extra income.
In fact, in whatever capacity, they still turn to fishing to provide extra income to support their family. The Portuguese settlement was originally a swamp area filled with 28 hectares of palm trees facing the Straits of Malacca, suitable for a fisherman's source of income. The fall of the respectably famed Malacca Empire into the hands of a foreign colonist has played a significant role part in shaping today's Malaysian civilization. It was also the start of when the Portuguese became part of Malaysia's diverse ethnic groups. Muhammad Daniel Abdullah's ancestors sailed to Malacca from Goa and decided to remain in Malacca after marrying a local Indian woman. His passion for the origins of Portuguese history has drawn him closer to his forefathers' historical journey. Daniel survives through his many paintings of Malacca's beautiful historical scenery. Each stroke not only depicting the glory of the past, but also touching upon the loss of a historical legacy. Still, in the last 5 years, he's been forced into finding his means within the historical Forte de Santiago monument, one of 2of3.mp4 access gates, before it was demolished after the end of the Portuguese era. The fort spanned almost 15 kilometers, circling the ancient port city. The 2of3.mp4 fort and the hill being the focal point of the city. The walls of the fort were made of a mixture of unique building materials, mostly from dark red laterite rock and chiseled granite. The red laterite rocks gave the turtle-shaped fort a red hue, which made it one of the most unique structures ever built by the Portuguese in the Far East.
Now you see this wall only left only a little bit after Porta de Santiago, demolished during the British time. You can see most of the parts here. There's a window, even the door the other side. You can see most of the laterite that was gone today, and you can see only left only a little bit. If you want to know what the cements, you can see there. They have a sea coral, seashell, sea mud, sea sand.
The Portuguese obtained most of the stones for the fortress from Pulau Upe, Ilha de Pedra, or the Island of Stone. The stones are said to be alive, growing from beneath the seabed.
Okay, you can see here most of the sea corals. You can see all from the sea. The sukan for the cement they use 4 elements. They use sea coral, seashell, sea mud, sea sand, and the grind they make it cement. Most of the sea coral was gone from the sea. You can see that's why they use for the laterites. They are more stronger. They use for the laterite. That's why they use the sea mud. They're getting more stronger and stronger now. Because this laterite, they have a lime and iron. Even the sea coral, they have a calcium. That's why they will grow with the sea mud. That's why it's more stronger. Until now, you can see most of the laterite. You can see this half from the island, half from the hill. You can see most of the island rocks. You can see. Okay, this from the hill. There's all different difference.
Outside